Hello and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And, well, we have a lot to get into. Breaking news left, right, and center. This is Xbox's week, ladies and gentlemen. The Developer Direct is only a couple of days away. We're expecting some big reveals, maybe even a super secret shadow drop, right? And obviously there were some people that thought that it was going to be Stalker 2. We got some news on Stalker 2 that has been delayed. We'll get into that momentarily. We have a community question that came the way of a DM. And we're gonna kind of it's not the biggest topic, but it's a topic that I think will certainly levy some good opinions from both Infinite Umbra and Steel Rain. Obviously, you see by the title, South of Midnight, Clockwork Revolution, Avowed, Towerborne, all pre-installed, ready for pre-install on your Xbox. What does that mean? I don't know. We're going to break that down. And in that conversation, I want to kind of talk about the importance of brand identity. This is something that's been a hot topic of discussion since Xbox is apparently going third party, which is ridiculous. Even though Phil Spencer, who sat down with Jez Corden, I don't know, maybe a month ago, maybe not even that long ago, and assured us that we weren't, that Xbox was going to have its exclusive. Xbox is not going third party, but, the conversation with the PlayStation Nation continues because they keep begging for games, even though I thought Xbox had no games and were mid and 60 meta. Why would you want to play those games? I don't know, but we're going to break all of that down. We're going to start first with Steel Rain. Great show. You and Pong knocked it out of the park this Saturday.
Thanks,
obviously, this Saturday is going to be a fun show because you both are going to be reacting to what has transpired on Thursday. So obviously, we're all going to be tuning in for that. But how the heck are you, man? Welcome.
Well, Mr. BoomStick XL, we're back in the Xbox Factor podcast kingdom. And yeah, man, as we do on a week-to-week basis, I don't know how, why, or what the reasoning behind how we do it, but yeah, man, 4 hours plus of content every weekend, get just hammering people over the head with energy, giving them that ECP, and always coming from that RTS perspective, right? Because being a gamer, although I don't play RTS games much myself, I do think, coming in from that satellite view where you're looking at everything, maybe you even tread those dark corners, but coming back with the information that you might find in those dark corners and building up that foundation to reach those 3 billion gamers that Phil always talks about. That's always the goal, man. So hopefully we're going to continue to bring that here. I'm glad to be here with the Xbox Factor podcast. Boom again. Appreciate you just opening up a bedroom for me. You even gave me a king bed, like
king size bed. That's right, brother.
It's a home away from home, man. I appreciate it, but much love. And yeah, I'm just excited to get to it. So.
Yeah, listen, we're happy to have you here. Happy to have you a part of the show each and every week. You bring us a solid tenacity to everything that you do, and it's great to work with you each and every week. Infinite Umbra, my friend, my brother, all the way from Chi-Town. Finally, New York got some snow. We got 4+ inches last night. It's supposed to snow, I think, on Thursday and Friday again. I'm very excited. I had to shovel the spot, didn't mind. Had to clean off the car, didn't mind. I like the cold. I like the snow. I know you guys have been getting dumped in Chi-Town. Obviously, Randolph Thor had lost power, I think, for a day in that cold, which isn't good. But listen, man, we got a lot to get into. Xbox is going to be dropping the gauntlet, so to speak, this week. And the news, well, the positive news for Xbox continues. Infinite Umbra, how are you feeling, kind sir?
I'm feeling good, Boom. Good morning to you and Rain, and also good morning to the chat. Yeah, man. It has been really, really cold here in Chicago. Right now it's like 1 degree, so it's cold. But
wow.
The other day, like when Rand lost power and all, that was like -10. Like it was freezing.
Jesus
So,
Christmas. That is crazy. That's just crazy.
Funny enough, well, not funny enough, but oddly enough, my power went out in my place too for like 30 minutes. But I got there fortunately later, so like I wasn't affected too much by it. So, but still, it went out too. I'm like, what type of service is this? Snow take you out and cold? No.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. But it's unfortunate. I mean, Rand is, is part of his profession is to work and fix that. So I'm sure he took care of it. But yeah, man, it's been decent as far as the week goes. I had, tried that Prince of Persia.
So good, dude. I'm playing it right now. I'm 3 hours in.
I saw you playing it earlier. Man, that game is addictive. If you all have not played it, chat family, they have a demo out for it. Definitely give it a try.
I'm gonna say this: early contender for top 10, maybe even top 5. It is a Metrovania. It is gorgeous, and it's probably depending on who you ask. Like, a lot of people are enjoying Avatar. I didn't enjoy it. I just didn't. I could not get into it. So I was a little bit disappointed with it. And I was expecting big things from this. What I didn't expect is what you said. It is addictive because you're trying to find your way, and in the process of doing so, you're finding secrets and you're finding different things. It's phenomenally done.
Absolutely, and that's the best type of Metroidvanias to me are those where you really have to trek back. I mean, they all make that way anyway, but the best ones that keep you engaged to that point. I think the fighting system it has in it is pretty good too. It's like the combat is solid. The way you move is very fluid. I didn't see any or experience any like technical issues or anything like that. It ran flawlessly, which it should. And I had come to, when I paid attention and saw who actually made it, I was like, no wonder. I mean, these developers, Montpelier, Ubisoft Montpelier, they made Rayman. They've made Beyond Good and Evil. Like these dudes are talented. So we should have expected it to be this good, to be fair. So, but when we saw it announced, it looked really, really good. I was hyped for it then. Playing it solidified everything I thought, because I played the demo and bought it immediately. So
yes,
unfortunately, I bought it was crazy, right? Because I bought it and then thought that the general edition would get you access on the 15th. And then I looked, I was like, oh no, it's for the ultimate edition or whatever, the deluxe.
You should have returned it.
I tried. I tried, but it didn't process. I think something wrong happened, because when I tried, it's a whole runaround I did. I bought Ubisoft Plus. I'm like, I want to play this game now. I want to play it on my raw guy while I'm away, etc. Right? And I did all of that, but my old account that I had with Ubisoft back in 2009 was still connected. So it connected to that, and I can't disconnect it because the email address I use for it is now defunct.
What a cluster!
Yeah, it's annoying, but it is what it is. I'm going to see what I can do about it. But yeah, happy to be here with you fellas today. And I mean, we got a lot of good news to talk about. You all heard the rumors. I mean, I know a lot of people are feeling away about some of this stuff, but you all heard the rumors about like what contraband and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, contraband is. Obviously, Mag was on a tear. Of course, on Friday night show, I was hanging out in the chat, and he had a lot to say about contraband. Contraband, from what I understand, is going to be a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to seeing what that game turns out to be. I think 8v8 online, which is pretty dope. And again, it's obviously there's we don't know exactly what the game is, but it's based on what Mag was saying. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
It does. It did. That's why I tried to ask him as many questions as I could. Just you heard me. I was probing. I'm like, hold on. Was, but I was like, yeah, let me see if I can get anything extra from him, and anything to share without betraying his trust of his source, at least. And so be careful not to do that. But the 8v8 or the 8-player thing, like I'm guessing, because Cole did a video on it today too. So it's like 4v4, probably cops versus criminals, something like that, which would be pretty dope to try to get away from them and such. And I came to the conclusion it must be like a payday slash I guess Grand Theft Auto 5-esque kind of thing, because like in Grand Theft Auto 5, you do the heist and then you gotta get away and such. So I'm thinking it's something like that, a hybrid, and at least you're running away and driving away. It seemed the way he described it, it hyped me up, because I wasn't as hyped for it after so long, but that really hyped me up.
Wow. I mean, listen, it's why? Okay, so the theme is Xbox is cooking, right? Someone actually just said it in the chat, so I kind of want to talk about that for a hot second because Xbox is cooking, and what's interesting about what they're cooking is that this is going to be a smorgasbord of different types of genres. Now, obviously, I make no excuses for being a fan of the way Sony produces their games. I only have a PlayStation 5 to buy exclusive content. There's some content that they keep rehashing and rehashing and rehashing. I will not buy it. I won't even spend the $10 for the upgrade for The Last of Us, which, by the way, is getting called the greatest game just got greater. I mean, it's the same game, folks. I don't understand. Honestly, when you see it side by side, it does not look that much better. And yes, you got a guitar playing mode, and the roguelite is probably going to be fun. People are going to probably enjoy that, and if you do enjoy that, good on you. I'm not a roguelite kind of a player anyway, so it doesn't really appeal to me. The guitar playing thing, I think, is just preposterous. It's just, I find it to be ridiculous. You pick a character, you play as Ellie, you play as, I said, if you could play as a clicker, maybe they got something. I don't know.
Yeah.
If you have clicker sitting on a bed playing the guitar, that'd be something interesting. But
yeah,
other than that, it's fine. But it's Xbox is doing everything in their power to lure you into their ecosystem through Game Pass, and allowing you to play here, there, and everywhere is definitely a trait. And when you say Xbox is cooking, just look at the games that are being shown this Thursday. Now, yes, they're all like it depends on what your status quo is for AAA. Aura is going to be big for someone like Pong Soul. He cannot wait to get into it. He cannot wait to play it because they're coming at this from a different type of mentality when it comes to the 4X RTS types of games. Normally, I was listening to you guys on Saturday. He was saying that there is usually a bunch of factors that allow you to win the game, and this is taking that formula and throwing right out the window, and that they're doing it their own way. I think that's very interesting. Again, not a game for me, and I'm not going to play it, but that doesn't mean someone else isn't going to play it, right? And I'm, again, we have a lot to get into. I do want to talk about the Stalker 2 first, but if anyone is wondering what game this is, you're like, boom, what is this? This is Onrush. It came out during the Xbox One era. It's available on PS4, Xbox One. It did get some visual upgrades. Playing it on the Series X, it's ridiculously fun. It's almost as if it's a spiritual successor to MotorStorm on the PlayStation 3 with the way that the wrecks go. And your whole point is to get points, and they have different ones. Like this one, we have to drive through these green lines to keep extending the time. There's another one where there's a disc, a circle that's like going around that you have to drive into and stay on there and protect it while you're driving to get the points. It's crazy good fun. I put like 3 hours into this, and I figured, driving games, especially with the podcast, look really good and they're fast. And this is running incredibly fast. So that's what I've been up to. Let me pull up what Stalker had to say, gentlemen, because obviously new information has come the way. That Stalker 2, and this comes, of course, this was delivered to us by, well, a lot of people are talking about it, but specifically it was Idle Sloth, as Idle does what Idle does. The guy is, here, there, and everywhere. Let me see if I can actually find it. Okay, I want to read the press release, or at least some of it, but I'm going to go first to you, Steele. Stalker 2 has been confirmed as being an Xbox and PC exclusive. There's been a lot of chatter in the last 24 hours. I sent you guys all the DMs, a lot of tweets from Stalker, the developer, a lot of tweets from a Stalker fan account. And I'm like, oh, wait a second. All these tweets, what if this is the shadow drop? That's what I was actually going for, going with, because I'm like, well, there's a lot of news here. It's got to be, right? Well, it turns out that unfortunately it's being delayed, and I do have the press release thanks to Idle Sloth here Let me read some of it, and we're going to break it down because obviously there are some people that are disappointed. I get it, but we also have to take a step back, folks. Let's be a little real about this. This is the developer that has been forced out of their homes in Ukraine because of what's happening between Ukraine and Russia, right? Some of their developers stayed behind to defend the country and lost their lives in the line of duty. Okay. They had to uproot their whole company along with all of their family to move to safety. How this game is still actually releasing in 2024, I have no idea. That shows you the pure tenacity that this developer has for this game. Let me just read some of it, Steele.
Yeah.
It says this: Dear Stalkers, last year during Gamescom 2023, we finally had a chance to meet you in person. We gathered around the campfire with you to share something valuable that we have been creating for all of you these years. A small part of Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl publicly for the first time ever. One of our one-time initiative then transformed into a journey from campfire to campfire across France, Brazil, Singapore, and other countries. Thousands of players were able to play the game themselves and give us the much-needed feedback afterwards. And as true friends always do, you shared your honest thoughts of the game, both positive and negative. And we're thankful for that. For your insights, we figured out 2 key points. The one to celebrate and one to consider seriously. The first one, the zone remains the zone. It, in its true beauty and after our likeness, the game absolutely feels and plays like Stalker. The atmosphere, hardcore style, harsh and unwelcoming environment are ready to cook. And we can't be more grateful for these words, as they basically sum up both the key intention and the main inspiration for the project from the very beginning at the same time. The second, the gear in the backpack should be checked one more time to be completely sure it will not fail us in the most needed moment. On the technical side of things, the game needs more time. Throughout the frankly challenging development process, we understood the time was of the team's main essence. Seeing the scope of polish and understanding that we can't push your patience too much, we are absolutely dedicated to releasing the game in Q1 2024 and worked extra hard to meet that release window. That, however, doesn't change the fact that at the beginning of this year, we still witnessed a certain amount of technical imperfections that hold Stalker 2 below the expected standards for its final experience for our fans who are waiting for the game. While there is absolutely no way to make another delay sound less dim, we decided to be clear about our reasons to postpone the game for the sake of yet another wave of polishing. The final release date, Steele, of Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl is now locked in to September 5th, 2024. And finally, it says this: we know that you are waiting for this moment as well as we do. But the preparation needs to be done so that the journey into the zone goes smoothly as planned. Thanks for your patience and continuous support, and be ready to see lots of info about the game further this year. I don't know how you can get mad at this if knowing the background of this team. Well, what are your thoughts on pushing it all the way to almost the end of the year?
At this point, they're at a 2-year delay, and to me, at least, I think every little bit is worth it. For everything that development team has been put through. Again, real life always trumps over everything else. The human element side of it always trumps over everything else. And if they are coming to a reality internally, again, they're in a position, especially being teamed up with Xbox and Microsoft, that they're not under the gun to try to get the money back from this game. Of course they do. And of course, Microsoft probably wants to see some of that return for their investment, of course. But obviously, it's the same thing. I kind of said power, just to throw it in there real quick. Xbox seemingly hasn't missed the ball as far as getting new games that are coming to its service or to its platform, or games that they decide that they want to stand behind. They've decided to stand behind this game since the original release and have only told their supporters that they'll need more time as life has hit them harder and harder as the months had rolled by. For me, it is amazing to me that a dev can be completely honest, and no matter how many delays, because again, yes, delays are annoying to us, but at the end of the day, when we get the final product, are we thinking about the delays anymore? No. When I play Halo Infinite today, am I thinking about that a delay that happened? No, I'm not. I take that experience for what it is, and as somebody who hasn't had a chance to and don't have any genuine interest to play the original Stalker, again, it's older. But I am impressed from what I was shown from Stalker 2, and I'm interested in that. And I want to play it day one. I want them to be comfortable with the experience that they're delivering to us. Because I'll also be honest, I saw some footage behind the scenes, and again, we all have our sources. I guess this is the perfect time of the year just to come out with sources. But there were some things that I saw behind the scenes where the gameplay did look a bit rough. And I was hoping that the game wouldn't release in that condition. I was like, for all that time, look, I understand that you got a lot of things going on, but a product is a product at the end of the day. Like I can be human all day long and I can still support you, but this product still has to be whatever you're trying to sell, and it has to be good. And the new screenshots that we have gotten, I think, have cleared up a lot of that dimness that maybe I had before, because it was just clarity things. It wasn't gameplay things per se. It was just clarity things. But from the most recent screenshots, the game is looking beautiful. It's looking, from what I've seen previously of videos of the original Stalker, it looks like it's definitely in that same vein, but in a brand new era. And I want those devs to know, and maybe they'll hear this, maybe they won't. I know, Boom, you got a lot of support coming their way when the game releases. And you've talked about that in the past. You'll probably end up talking about it more, but in the future, I just want the devs to know that we greatly appreciate the product, this piece of art that they're creating. It needs to be treated as such, and hopefully it is the best game that they could possibly have made. And again, there has, when we talk about people putting blood, sweat, and tears into things that they care for, and I think all devs do that. I don't think devs just work and want to be lazy or want to put out a bad product. Take into consideration how long games take to make, and then you also, which is already complicated, and then you throw in not only real life but a war in your entire country that forces you to completely change your situations. People left, people went and fought the war from off of your dev team. You've lost people. Like, there is just so much love, talent, and patience that has gone into this game. And man, I can't wait to see what it's going to look like at full release for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there is something to be said about, and as a dev team, they want to make sure that they deliver, and that's why they have decided to postpone it. And I think that is probably the best way to go about doing your business, because obviously they're trying to sell a product, and they made a commitment to Xbox. They made a commitment to Xbox
to themselves, I think, more than anything.
Right, and they made a commitment to themselves to deliver a high-end quality sequel that is taking years in the making. And again, when you consider, again, once they cross the finish line and this game is in the hands of us, and it's the game that they wanted to release, meaning that it has all the polish, it has all of the glory, it looks next gen, it's shining, it's running Unreal Engine 5, all the bells, all the whistles, and everyone is going to be happy. And at the end of the day, all you have to do is look at something like Starfield and say, okay, that got a year delay. And they weren't fighting a war. They got a year delay because the game needed it. And the game released much better for it. And I think that this game is going to see that kind of success. And, they're giving it the TLC. The game is done. They're just doing the polishing.
Yeah,
I think,
Starfield treatment.
Yes.
That year polish, right?
Yes. I think it's going to be well worth our wait. Infinite Number, let's bring you in on the conversation, brother. Okay, so this game has had quite a few delays. Again, we all know why, right? They have been uprooted. They're trying to figure out how to, be safe. Worry about their family. And who's to say that some of their family's still not behind in Ukraine? We don't know, right? So they're trying to do all of that. Real life really getting in the way, and develop a game at the same time. Like I said, I don't know how we're even getting this game. But the fact that they're asking and telling us they need to, more time and that they have locked it in September 5th, I'm perfectly okay with that. What about you, man?
No, I'm much the same. I think any of us should be understanding of that. And what's up, Hargeet? Morning. And yeah, we all should be understanding of that. Honestly, I think that's one of the things. Honestly, this is not surprising to me. I think if you even go back to previous statements I've said, I thought that it would release in the fall. It just makes sense. It didn't seem like it would be a early or mid calendar release to me. And they could take all the time they need. Personally, for all I care, take all the time you need to get it right, especially under the circumstances that they're under. I mean,
make it a Halloween thing, right? So that's the other thing. That'd be super dope.
That actually,
for that type of game.
Yeah,
absolutely. I was just surprised that they put this out there and said, "Hey, we're going to be coming out September 5th." I thought that was pretty cool. But I kind of, the way people were hyping up with the images we started to see, and at least in my little tinfoil head, I started to wonder, would this be the shadow drop somehow?
That's what I thought. Honestly, that's what I thought, because it was real. Like in the last 24, 48 hours, there's been a lot of Stalker 2 news. So I was like, "Yep, this is it. Let's go."
It started to look like it. Exactly. I'm like, that would be an insane shadow drop if so. By the way, I don't know if you all saw it, but Insider Gaming posted, from I forgot his name. What's that guy's name that runs that site? Insider Gaming.
Oh, that's Tom Henderson.
Tom Henderson. He posted that there wouldn't be a shadow drop allegedly during this Thursday.
And yet if you read it, it says there's a 5th game, and you're like,
it does. Hold on.
Yeah.
So there's a 5th game.
So maybe it's a surprise announcement, but it's not a quote unquote shadow drop. Look, I'm not trying to poo-poo it. I love shadow drops, and we all know how we feel about Hi-Fi Rush. I mean that's probably the pinnacle tip of spear for shadow drops, right? Like we can't argue how great of a game that was, and that came out of nowhere.
Absolutely.
But I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm not trying to poo-poo it. I want people to understand that. I want a shadow drop like everybody else, but Friday, we are getting a major exclusive into Xbox Game Pass and Power World. Now, maybe that isn't for everyone. I get it. But it's Pokemon with guns. It looks really freaking good, man. And it's single players for old dinosaurs like me, and for like people like, of course, Infinite Umbra, Hargeet Chani, and Steel Rain, who enjoy multiplayer. You can get down with 3 other people, so 4 people can play this game. You're flying on the backs of these things. It opens up to a big open world. That's not such a bad second place trophy. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I choose you, pew pew chew. Absolutely. I can't wait to bust a cap inside a Pokemon ass. Absolutely.
Holy moly.
No, I can't wait. I'm gonna turn my gun sideways too, like I'm a gangster Pokemon when I do it. What?
Well, they already
better add that option. I better be able to like turn my gun sideways or something. But no, I'm actually excited for that too. My buddy has been hyping it up, like, "Hey, you gonna play with me? I'm like, all right, I guess I'll play it with you, the game. But no, that's dope. I think that's just really dope. I mean, we already knew about Power World, coming, but as far as to the platform, but for them to announce that this is now launching in the Game Pass day 1, that's dope.
Big deal. It's a big deal.
Absolutely. And we got so many other games already that's launched and will be launching. So yeah, Resident Evil 2 the other day. What was the other one? You had another big one. What was that? I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I was just talking about it too. I mean, Game Pass this year.
Brotato, for those who don't know,
dude. I really want that game.
Like
yes.
That's coming to Game Pass.
Yes, it was announced today. Brotato. Listen, don't sleep on it, because you said it's like Vampire Survivor.
Yeah, it's like a Vampire Survivor.
Very addictive, that game. I still play it. It's
hyped it up.
Persona 3's coming. There's
exactly. You got a lot of great games. Persona 3, like you said too. So Game Pass value is about to go through the roof. But as far as the whole thing with Stalker 2, this is dope. I mean, like I said, for me and like most of the chat, we all understand. All of us are like, give them the time to cook, do the thing they have to do, especially under the circumstances they're under. None of us will be like, get it out there now. I think even if they had to delay it to the next year, none of us will be complaining, being honest, under their circumstances. I mean, how could you? What could we demand them to do during the, in the stress situation there? But no, that's great. I mean, like I said, they put the visuals out. We start seeing the new images. And Rain, you were saying that you saw some that looked a little rough beforehand.
Yeah, it was actual gameplay, video gameplay. Yeah. It looked like it was almost 720p.
Oh man,
it was choppy in some sections. Some animations were off.
Okay.
So I mean, it was things like that. But again, it could have just been an earlier build. There's no telling when that could have taken place, when that got leaked out. It was also on one of those sites where you don't want to maybe not download the video because you don't know what's going to come with it.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, but again, like just from what I know of Stalker as quality wise, I don't necessarily have any worries about that per se. It's just more so I just hope that the real life circumstances haven't affected them enough to where they didn't put out a quality game, but this kind of puts those worries to the side because it's like, okay, well, you guys obviously see something and it needs more polish, and that's fair. So,
and that was it, by the way. Thanks, Black John. It was Valhalla. That was another one that was added. That's the one I was thinking of. So, I mean, crazy releases to it. It's about to be a crazy year. But like I said, I think all of us should be understanding of that. By the way, if you all didn't see it, and as far as Tom Henderson's Insider Gaming thing, he said that a lot of the other games will be releasing later in a year. So that doesn't give us a window. I'm sure they'll tell us during the show. But I know one of the popular theories for, if I'm not mistaken, Hargeet, you were saying it was May for Hellblade 2, possibly.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing.
So that date's been floating around.
Yeah, I'm still wondering if that'll be the fall for that person. It seems like a fall game, but I mean, May would be dope, especially right before the the June showcase. So we'll see what happens with that. But no, like I said, those guys take all the time they need. I don't know what else needs to be said outside. The game looks great. I expect it to be great, in its final form. And that's really it for me.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, it just take your time. We'll play this game. This year is not going to have a shortage of games to play. So waiting until September is not that big of a deal. And the Hargeet, I know you're here for a very specific topic. We're going to get into that brand identity. I think it is a topic that's worthy of a conversation because of a lot of the conversation that's going on with Xbox going third party. There are people like Digital Foundry salivating at the fact that third party. I'm like, come on, guys, you're a conglomerate. I mean, you're really going with this. Honestly, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. But we will get to that in a second. I do want to get your hot take on the delay, the confirmed delay of Stalker 2. Big deal or big nothing burger?
So I mean, like you were saying, Umbra, take your time. It's okay. What a different world we're in. If this was like about a decade ago, we'd be saying, where are the games? Right. So
I think they would have been forced to put the game out. They would have
so true.
But we are in a totally different world now, right? That like you're the main topic you have here, Boom, is like these games are being made ready for download, and we don't even know when they're going to be talked about, right? So there's 3 games in your list here that they're not even in the developer direct. And they're also potentially coming this year. And yet we have these 4 games that they're talking about in the developer direct. Right. And we know we have ABK yet to come. Call of Duty is coming, right? There's other games from ABK that are going to be coming, right? There's so many games. It's just now go ahead, take your time, right? They took the hit for their launch and allowed Halo to take a delay. It should have taken a 2-year delay. They gave it a 1-year delay. They did the same with Starfield, totally destroying their 22 lineup and said, fine, take the time. We'll delay it, right? They're obviously for this, they're going to take the time. Let them take the time. It just makes sense, right? They're in a lot of, weird turmoil that isn't normal. Let them take whatever time they need to. My main question becomes, at some point, have you paid enough for this game from Microsoft's perspective to just own the studio. I don't know if that's already happened or not, but
Right.
but that becomes my big question mark on this. Is like at some point you probably should just enter into some discussions of like, why don't we just acquire you? Like, how much have we paid you for this thing? Is it time to look at what an acquisition would be like? That's just my like, general thoughts on. It's taking a long time. They, I'm sure, have had to add more funds to make this game happen, right? So, I think they're kind of at that level of why don't we just buy? How much could they possibly cost, right? So, but yeah, it comes out in September, so now we know that's what's coming out then. Usually, if they were going to release a Horizon, right, Forza Horizon, that would be in that time frame. So it's not going to be September, right? They're not going to have two games. So chances are, if they are going to have one that's October, Call of Duty's November, right? So that's done. So that there's like your potential fall lineup right there, right? That leaves a whole bunch of other games that need to release before that.
Yeah.
So like, I'm just looking at this developer direct, right? And I'm like thinking, like, whatever the shadow drop, it's not gonna be a shadow drop because you're not announcing and releasing at the same time. But I think they're gonna release a game within the January timeframe. So right around the time frame of this developer direct. It's a game we already know about. That's why it's not a shadow drop. So that's your January release. And then you got February, maybe Ara, and then March, maybe Indiana Jones, and April's Avowed, and May is Hellblade. And then you probably get into Clockwork and South of Midnight and on and on and on, because they just have so many games to give you. Like, Towerborne. I don't know when that. Anyway, so them needing till September, that probably just opens up runway for the other games that need to come out.
Yeah.
So totally fine. I don't see any issue with them pushing it out. Take your time, make the game the way you want to make it before you release it, and give us the polished thing that you want to give us. That's a better game to get. So, we heard some of the rumblings from Gamescom that it was rough. It was not playing very well. Obviously, you want to fix that, right? Make it good. So yeah, that's all just good news to me. I don't see a problem there. We now have a final release date, and hey, if it needs to get pushed back, it needs to get pushed back. That's fine.
Yeah.
Take your time.
Omerta War says, don't forget about the Oblivion remake as well. I mean,
I'm not even looking at the remakes, right? Because there's more. There's other remakes that are potentially coming, or remasters, or whatever you like. So
Sony has the remaster thing on lock. Apparently, they might win a game of the year for this one.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Keeley is salivating right now. He went home. He's drooling at the mouth. Oh,
blowing on
our first 90
right now.
It's fine. Listen, if you, I didn't like it. It's I beat it. I just hated the story. I really did. I loved the first one. Second one, I just that constant switching. It just seemed like it was a mishmash of stories trying to tell one story. I didn't like it. But I beat it at least. So they're not getting my $10, and I'm not learning how to play freaking guitar. Using a dual sense. I'm just.
You telling me you don't want to sing time after time?
No. Like I said, I will drop down $10 if I can play as a clicker, playing the guitar. If that happens, then I'm all in. I want to see what that looks like. That's going to be fun.
How would the clicker sound trying to sing that?
Yeah, that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh God,
that sounded terrible.
Oh my God,
that sounded like it needed a pause.
The clicker gawk 3000.
That needs a pause.
No, say it ain't so. Oh my goodness!
Wow, I'm ready. You got to snitch on yourself, bro.
I'm sorry, I had me an energy drink. I'm a little extra right now.
He's a little hype. Shout out to Punty 050 in the chat. Welcome to the program, brother. Super appreciate you being here. Let me catch up on these super chats. We got a couple of them and a channel message from Omerta War, and we'll get to the next topic because I specifically asked Hargeet if he wanted to join us for this because, guys and gals, Xbox is in a position that, and it has been for quite some time. Like I said, regardless of whether it's good news or bad news, even the PlayStation players on PlayStation podcasts can't stop talking about Xbox, right? It was Starfield is mid, Starfield is a 7, it's garbage, it's last gen, and now the conversation has switched to, oh man, that Starfield, according to some who got roasted yesterday in public, which I would have deleted all my accounts if I was that Reforged dude. Like, wow, he got destroyed publicly, and he's still here. I guess he has no shame. And he was assured that Starfield, he got confirmation that they're coming, and of course, then MBG, and I don't understand him either. I have it on good authority. Hellblade 2 coming to PS5 because they're not going to make money on it. Wow, dude! Yep. Like, put yourself out there like that. I don't know. I mean, I thought Xbox had no games, ladies and gentlemen. I thought they were mid. I thought they were 60 meta games. Why do you want these games on your console? I don't know, but I guess things have changed. Whole Grain Bread drops a very generous wow. He says, I live in the Notre Dame territory, and right now with the wind chill, it is 20 below zero. Woo. Holy shit, that is cold. Sheesh. Dude. Yeah, you'll lose some digits if you don't bundle up there. Well, stay warm, brother. Elemental Pio, generous friend of the program, drops an outstanding $20 super chat and says, to speak quick about Aura, old RTS engines used to be pre-rendered in many ways to have thousands of units on screen at the same time with fully destructible environments. Aura has a new next-gen engine doing it all in real time. That's crazy. To see that kind of destruction and that many units on the screen at once is without slowing down is bonkers. Andre Doyle drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, I'm from NOLA, and we're very excited for South of Midnight. We have voodoo culture in in his mom and dad's side of the family. Really excited for Microsoft, brother. That's awesome to share. Thank you so much for that. And of course, that South of Midnight looks special, man. I just can't wait to see what the gameplay looks like. The character looks incredibly endearing, and I think again, Phil Spencer, when he was asked specifically about what game that we've never seen before is he most excited about, and that's the one he picked, which is crazy because obviously Compulsion, the only thing that we remember that they have done is We Happy Few. That was another one that was a PlayStation 4 launch title. It was like in France. It was like hand-drawn animation. I don't remember the name of it. It had like a
Contrast.
Yes, thank you so much for that. It was Contrast, which again I played. Good game, just not so much for me. But I'm very much looking forward to that as well. We have here a member for 5 months, Omerta Ward, says, I'll play Stalker 2 whenever it is ready. Indeed, sir. Exactly. That's exactly what we all are willing to do. Give that time that time that they need to, let them cook, as the new terminology has run rampant in 2024. Antonio Newman drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, do they have an Oblivion remake remaster the same year as Avowed? Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, it's games are similar, but one's in Pillars, one's in in the Skyrim area. So I mean, it's I don't see why not. I think they both can exist. I really do. I think they both can exist and be well. And again, they're going to be big. Avowed is going to be huge, and I think Oblivion remake is going to be even bigger. I just wonder if that Oblivion remake is going to be exclusive, or is that going to launch on all platforms? That's an interesting thought.
I would expect all platforms. That's one of those the case by case, right? Legacy titles. I would think that would come to everything.
Like even like the Fallout 3 remake.
Yeah, I think that would come to
everything. Put that everywhere. Who cares? Who cares? Like, but I mean, it's going to be in Game Pass. You can be able to play for quote unquote free. So. Highlander 001, welcome to the program, my brother. And again, my goodness, for the love of Joe, he has donated once again, folks, another 5 Double Barrel Gaming memberships, brother. That is crazy generous of you. Thank you so much for the outstanding support. Hargit, I want to go to you first on this. By my title here, you see that it was very simple. It made a lot of news, got a lot of people excited. Now we don't know when these games are, is this a confirmation that they're this year? If all of these games release, it's going to be madness. So I have South of Midnight, Clockwork Revolution, Avowed, Towerborne. But, there's also other big ones in there. Hellblade 2 is a part of that conversation. It's just they have a lot of games potentially dropping this year. And as exciting as a year it is for Xbox fans, unfortunately, it has been marred in controversy because of a insider, Nate the Hate, obviously made waves early in the year, and the conversation of third party continues to dominate. So I kind of been, I sit back, I watch, I take notes. I do 5 shows a week, so obviously I'm always reading, always writing. And I was sitting last night and I said, when you look at Nintendo, right? I'm talking about not going all the way back to 85 when the first NES were launched. I'm talking about, like, if you look at now, it isn't just brand identity with Mario. They have a lot of big brands. Splatoon, a shooter, an online multiplayer shooter from Nintendo, which they're working on the 4th one. All 3 have done crazy numbers for them. Super popular IP. So Nintendo, when you think of brand power, it's a very powerful brand. They have Mario, they have Donkey Kong, they have Wario. It just goes on and on and on. When you look at Sony, now again, maybe you don't consider them to be a powerful brand. Maybe they don't even exist in your world, and that's perfectly fine. But they do have powerful IPs. They have Spider-Man, they have God of War, they have Nathan Drake, they have Aloy. It goes on and on. And if you want to take it back a little further, they have games like Resistance. They have games like MotorStorm. They have games like Gran Turismo. There's a lot of brand power there. And Xbox, I think, has as minimum equally as strong IPs. Now, I know there's going to be a conversation, Hargeet, to be having. It's always Forza. It's always, Halo. But those are pillars. The same way God of War is a pillar. The same way Nathan Drake's a pillar. They keep going back to this multiple times, right? Are we gonna complain? No, you just go and you buy the game. That's what they do. Well, actually, that's not true. PlayStation gamers really don't buy their games. They just go on Twitter and talk about it, and they don't actually play them, which is kind of a confirmed fact. A little embarrassing, but a fact. So I really want to pick the brain of the audience. I want to pick the brain of the panel here. And Hargeet, my question to you is the importance of brand attachment. Exclusives. Exclusives matter. They matter now. They've mattered years ago, and they will continue to matter. And I don't think that a brand, like, I know there's a conversation about, they're going to put Sea of Thieves everywhere. I could care less. Honestly, it's a gas game. It needs players. I do not feel the same way about something like Hi-Fi Rush. I've already gave you my opinion on that. I think the game is special, and I think that a sequel will garner even more fans because this has zeitgeist conversation when you talk about it. Chai is a character that's endearing. He's fun. He's unpredictable. The art style is likable. It's anime-esque. Everything about that game, through its music, through its combat, I think that has to stay. As it's a single-player game. It does not have to live on Nintendo. Because, again, it's one of those brands that if it's done right and you can, bring it to the mass media through anime and through graphic novels and comics and potentially an animated series, you can build on this brand. And then when I start hearing about, these knuckleheads, oh yeah, Hellblade's why does Hellblade need to live on PlayStation? It does not. You want to play that game, you buy an Xbox, or you do what I have been saying forever. These PlayStation dudes swear up and down for years that they have $5,000 rigs and they don't need an Xbox. So then go play it there. We're not worried about your DualSense. No one's going to develop extra bells and whistles for this game that's an Xbox exclusive. So my question to you is, really the crux of the conversation is Microsoft has to respond somehow. They need to quash this. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I know that Phil did the interview. Was quite a great interview with Jez Corden of Windows Central.
Yep.
where he confirmed they weren't going third party. Apparently that's not enough, and maybe that's why they haven't responded as of yet. But what is the importance of exclusives like Hellblade, like South of Midnight, like Clockwork Revolution, like the Gears collection? Do you think that this is important for the brand that they want to sell? And obviously, I think it's important if they want to sell you a service like Game Pass, because why join Game Pass if all you have to do is wait?
Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing, right? If we lived in a world where Xbox was on equal parity with their competitors, it may not have mattered as much, right? But they don't. We don't live in that world, right? It's 2-1 at best. It's they trounce Xbox.
Yeah.
And the majority of that is, in the US it does okay, in the rest of the world it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
If you want to try to gain mind share, well, then you have to have something compelling to bring people to your platform, right? Because they have to invest in it. Now, they've done something to take away a lot of the friction here by saying, don't even invest in it. Just like if you have a Samsung TV or an LG TV,
Yes.
you can just subscribe to our service, play the games, don't worry about it. Cool. But some people just kind of want to have that console experience and they want to have the console. Fair enough. For those who are willing to do this, I'll point out PC does exist in a pretty cheap format in the new handhelds. And you can plug the handheld into your TV. So you can get a cheap PC console type thing that gives you the entire catalog of Xbox stuff because it's all Windows, right? So you can pick up a Rogue Ally or the Lenovo or the new MSI Claw or whatever. They're all like $700 or so, and plug that into your TV. Fair enough. Now you have the Microsoft catalog that way. But if you want to invest in a console, you can obviously just get an Xbox, right? But if you take away the incentive, right? If you say, hey, this game is going to come in a year later, 2 years later, onto the console you already have, a Nintendo or a PlayStation, well, they never were interested to come over anyway. So now they have no incentive to come over, right? If instead you say, no, look, here's a whole bunch of games, right? Because now they're opening the spigot, right? Right now it's even. We have the same number of releases on both PlayStation and Xbox since the generation started. First party output. Now it's going to go crazy, right? PlayStation does not have any games to answer for the number of games that Xbox is putting out this year, right? You're suddenly going to have all these exclusives. And look, some of them, at least a couple of them, you're going to like. It's just the way it is, right? Because they go all across the board. Every type of game you want to play, they've got you. They got you covered, right? So we're there's going to be a Killer Instinct update, right? That's also happening. Just to point that out as another release that's coming, right? So there's all sorts of stuff for like every genre. Whatever you want, they're going to cover you. But if you say it doesn't matter because like 6 months later, a year later, 2 years later, it'll just come to your platform. You just disincentivize that. Now, long term, it's going to happen anyways, right? Because at some point, the console is diminishing. Long term, they're going to go there. It's going to be third party. I get that. But that's maybe like 10 years out. The idea of doing something like Hi-Fi or Sea of Thieves, I wouldn't do that now. I would do that in the next generation. Start dipping your toe into it. And the reason I say that is, I don't know if people have heard my little rant, but I think Microsoft goes third party so that they can say, we want to buy a heck of a lot more. And now that we're third party, you have no reason to say no, right? The regulators have no reason to say no. So they could go out and buy Take-Two, EA, Ubisoft. They could buy Sega, Square, Embracer, and more, and still not hit 15% of the gaming market. And you're not even looked at until you're 40%, right? As a monopoly. So they could buy all sorts of stuff, right? And if you have all that content as first-party content, even though it's coming everywhere, by Warner, right? The next Hogwarts Legacy is marketed by you. People are going to just assume it's on Xbox, even though it might be coming to the box you already have. They're just going to assume because you're marketing that game, right? Grand Theft Auto, you're marketing that game. Red Dead Redemption, you're marketing that game. The next Assassin's Creed, you're marketing that game, right? If that is the case, then it makes it compelling. Plus, you have Game Pass. All those games stay in date in the service. That service will likely not be $18 anymore. It'll probably be a lot more. Fair
I
enough.
would imagine. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. That's where it becomes okay. Right. But right now, you're in that sweet spot of saying the next 2 years, the number of games you're releasing is insane and your competition can't keep up.
Right.
This is the time to create that mind share and start garnering some of that potential market outside of the US.
Yes.
Try to get people to come to the Xbox ecosystem, start relating to it. Now, once you've done that, yes, you can start looking at doing this because I eventually I know they're going to do it. They're going to a third party. It allows them to expand. It allows them to go into the directions they want to, and the market's shifting. It's just going to be that way anyway. So I think that's where they are right now. To me, it's very irritating that I hear this constant. Is it third party? Is it not third party? Yeah, are we going to take these some games exclusive? Not like I don't want to hear it.
It really is tiresome.
Like, stop.
Well,
it really is tiresome. I agree with you. Like,
yeah,
it's tiresome. Phil Spencer said it last year. Hey, we're not, we're staying first party. We're not doing this third party thing, and then you start hearing the smoke again, and this is because there are people within Xbox who put out different messages than Phil, and that needs to stop. It needs to just be very clear.
It needs to be one chef. One chef in the kitchen. Yes, absolutely.
Phil have decided this is what it is, and thou shalt shut up and be on board. That's what needs to happen. And I like that. That would just eliminate this problem, right? Again, I know long range vision. I get it, and that's fine, but not right now. Wait till your next generation console is starting to solidify, and then you can start dipping your toe into this. It's gonna happen. I know it's gonna happen. But right now is not the time. I don't want to discuss that. I want to discuss the developer direct. The 20 games you're releasing. That's what I want to discuss.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a fantastic point, and it's an honest point. I think that it's odd timing, in my opinion, Steel Rain, and I'm going to tell you why. For years, Xbox has been known as the mid platform, right? 60 meta, right? People have made memes of Phil with his hands up with a 60, right? Like we've seen that. We've seen they release games that have been underwhelming. And they are on the cusp, ladies and gentlemen, of doing more than both Nintendo and Sony combined this year. Now, granted, we know Sony's hurting because they are flaunters. If they have something and they want to put the kibosh traditionally on anything that Xbox is doing, they do that. That's just what they do, right? They can't do that because obviously leadership changes happened, and they're still happening. And there were a lot of big moves made that made a lot of people at the studios on first party unhappy and uncomfortable. And things had to be delayed. Things had to be shifted. That's why they don't have anything. That's why they are known as the remake station now, because that's all they do is remaster games and sell it to you at full boat. That's just what they do. And finally, they offered a $10 upgrade, which I still wouldn't pay because I hated The Last of Us 2. I didn't dislike it. I freaking hated it.
But you play.
And here's the thing. When you are on the cusp of doing great things with first party, and you are trying to sell this amazing service to new players, and what the selling point isn't the box anymore, folks. It's just not. It is you can play anywhere there's a screen. No one is offering that. And it costs you $16.99 a month. And everyone and anyone nowadays understands what a subscription service is. They're here, there, and everywhere. Everyone has something special so that you, the consumer, will be like for instance, I never had Apple TV before. I saw a lot of things. They said, hey, listen, I bought a new TV, tip of the spear. And I got a 6-month a card. And I'm like, oh, okay, 6 months for free. Let me check out this thing. And Mrs. Boom and I have been binge watching the Godzilla show. Holy shit. It's freaking amazing. It's absolutely astoundingly great. And guess what? They already greenlit season 2. I'm now a subscriber. I am going to pay my $10 a month and be happy to pay it, because it wasn't just that. I found other things that we were watching now. And I'm like, okay, but see, that's the brand problem that you will cause if you allow for your big games in your service that you're trying to sell to new customers to be here, there, and everywhere. Some games, I get it. Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves is a gas game. You want to put that everywhere? Sure, go ahead. You want to put Grounded everywhere? Sure, go ahead. But when we start talking something like a Hellblade 2 or an Exiles game, why? Why do they deserve anything? And to be honest with you, Microsoft is making hand over fist money. They don't need to have that on there, because they're not gonna. My conversation with Kay Asante and Everborn came to this crux. You're chasing money that I think ultimately is not going to be worth the potential brand damage that you do by doing third-party shenanigans. That's my take on it. I want to hear your take on the brand importance for exclusives.
Oh, here we go. Okay, so
brother.
As far as brand importance for exclusives and whatnot, I want to start off by again saying exclusives do matter to any ecosystem, because you have to have something that stands out and gives you a reason to invest in that ecosystem. So just starting off with your most recent example that you use, Hellblade. No, Hellblade coming to other platforms or consoles would not be an ideal situation because of that brand identity, for sure. Though we are moving into very murky waters, and for me, what I don't want to happen as fans of Xbox is for us to start contradicting each other, because on one hand, we are starting to accept that it is okay for other people to have access to your games wherever you would like to have access to your games. The only thing about that is only Xbox is really giving you that right now. Nintendo doesn't do that, and PlayStation damn sure doesn't do that. And or if you want to consider GeForce Now, that's more of a PC thing. So outside of that, nobody else is doing what Xbox is doing at that level. With that comes a lot of gray area, and there becomes a place to where how do we decide what games stay and what games go? The easiest way that I answer that question is if it has anything included with multiplayer, and I feel this way about any multiplayer game, even Halo. It doesn't matter to me. Any multiplayer game needs to be everywhere. It doesn't matter the platform, doesn't matter. The reason being is because multiplayer games traditionally, because it is and even now it's even worse, you have to fight for people's times. And in the multiplayer space, it doesn't make sense to keep things exclusive to your platform when you could have more people invested in such platform. And if Xbox is giving you more ways to play, for an example, Halo, then is the box that people keep referencing truly the thing that matters anymore, at least to the majority? Because unfortunately, the 15 to 10% of us that are the hardcore gamer, the enthusiasts, are not the people who continuously sustain all these other ecosystems. It's the people that were still on Xbox 360 when we were on the One. It's the people that are still on the One while we're on the Series consoles. It's the reality of the situation. Just like I always like to tie things back to the human element of it all, because yes, we can love this hobby and act like we got all the money in the world to spend on all these other different things, and I want to buy every platform, and cool. If you're able to do that, that's great. That's wonderful. And shout out to your gaming experience. But that's not everybody's experience. If the goal for gaming, at least in my eyes, and from what has been brought in front of us, is to bring people together, is for Xbox to become a competitor. The only way that Xbox can become a competitor right now is delivering more than enough software that you cannot deny it. When you have to give people enough of that Xbox logo as soon as they start that game up for them not to be able to deny it anymore. And honestly, at that point, and I made this point previously, it doesn't matter where the games go, because at the end of the day, all these other platform holders have to play ball. This is not Xbox is going to have to pay every single penny, and it's going to be a free thing while we get nothing in return as Xbox fans. No. And if that does happen, then we should stand the line. And if that's the evil way things go, then we need to make sure that we speak our mind about that.
Yep.
But if we're being open to what Xbox has going on currently and what Phil has said, what other execs have said within the Xbox ecosystem, is that that's not the plan. If you want access to these Xbox games, you need Game Pass. What is the selling point right now? Game Pass. It is not the console. It is an archaic way of thinking. And people are still trying to, and again, no offense to anybody, because at the end of the day, this is just my personal opinion. I do not think that it devalues Xbox's brand by putting a game like, example, Hi-Fi Rush on Nintendo Switch. Why? Because more people than ever are going to play it. Why? Because people are already continuously proving that they do not buy games. How do you fix people not buying games? Oh, you said, just make good games. Well, I thought Horizon Zero Dawn was a good game. I thought Horizon Forbidden West was I thought Spider-Man. I thought
Spider-Man 2 didn't sell like they
Forza
wanted.
Motorsport. I thought Halo. I thought all these other games are good games, right? And that's also another thread to untangle there, because there's very diverse opinions about what's value and what's great to you and all that great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, there is a wide gray area that we're moving into that I actually think is okay, because things are different. As much as we want things to be the way that they have been traditionally, it is not working. And we have people that go on the podcast and constantly contradict themselves about this platform thing, while also saying that you want your games to be accessible to more people. That makes no sense. You cannot do both. So do you want games to be to more people, or do you want games to just be an Xbox? And if you're going to just be an
throw it
Xbox,
out there, Steel, I want the games only to be on Xbox.
If you want that, Umbra, but the problem with you wanting that, then guess what? Then these other services are probably at some point, if Game Pass continues to work, is going to have a subsidized version be on other platforms.
That's the future I think is going to happen. That's I've argued that many times. Right. I think the only way for this to work is for them to have Game Pass on their platforms. That's really the only way. I can see Nintendo going for that sooner than Sony.
Yeah. And I wonder if that changes. You know, it's funny you brought that up. Great point of contention, Steel and Umbra, because I guess we can ask this question to the chat, ask this question to both of you, and obviously I want you to continue, Steel, because you're killing it. Does the conversation or ideology change if it's Game Pass going into these services and it's a curated, list of games? Not every game, like Halo, is never going to be played on PlayStation. It's just not it shouldn't.
Yeah, it shouldn't.
If
you're not willing to play ball, I'm not going to play ball with you. That makes no sense.
And when you say play ball, because I want this to be clear, because I think you're onto something here. When you say play ball, is that suggesting that if Sony wants these games on their platform, then they need to make games like God of War and Spider-Man available on Xbox?
If we're going to give Halo, I need God of War. If you're going to get Forza, then I need Gran Turismo. If you're going to get whatever, there needs to be a fair exchange if you're going to do that.
Right.
But and guess who wins at that point?
Both sides we win as
because
gamers.
if we as gamers win, but both sides also win, because now you're giving people an avenue to be invested in both sides. That's what we're doing right now with all other subservices. Right?
I'm gonna start calling you full steel alchemist. You said equivalent exchange.
That's the best way that things would pan out, and that's what Xbox, at least to me, from what I've been hearing, has been saying. Hey, we're not going to give games away to people just because we know that we're not strong in the console space for X reasons. Right? There's been courtroom documents that have come out that people block deals, that things are cut a certain way. There's been documentaries that have been put out there that have explained why Xbox is on the back foot. Nothing excuses anything, because again, they're $1 trillion company and you have to find out what's best for you. but what's best for them is software, and they're doing more and more of just that, delivering software. And if we get more first and third party games and people start getting, again, that curated version of Game Pass, again, I'm not giving you a Halo if you're not giving me a Smash Brothers. Nintendo as an example. But you can get, Pentiment. You can get Hi-Fi Rush. You can get maybe some of these other games that, they're doing well. Maybe they're new. We're really trying to blow them up. You're not going to get a Gears. One, you don't have the platform to do that. And PlayStation definitely isn't going to play ball because that's the other thing that Microsoft and Xbox has been also adamant about is trying to streamline your experience to give you the best experience possible. I can't give you the best experience if your platform isn't willing to give me their hardware. I can't do that. So at that point, who's left out in the cold? So it's just, for me, I think that I see Umber agrees with some of the things that I'm saying here, but for me, I've come to find myself in a bit of a different perspective when it comes to Xbox because I'm looking at it from that RTS view, top down. Hey, they obviously have said that the traditional way of doing things in the gaming industry is not working. People are not buying games. I don't care what anybody wants to tell you, argue with you about. They do not buy games. If they did, we would not be having this conversation that we are right now. We wouldn't be talking about the price of games and all the other great, it's just a fact. In order to get all the other people invested, you have to meet them where they are. And where is that? Whatever platform that they want to play on. Does that devalue Xbox all of a sudden? No. I think that adds an enormous amount of value to Game Pass or Xbox because now it doesn't have to just be at home. Now it's wherever I have access to my Xbox account at, which is something else that they have been working on, which is why cloud saves have become such a standard, at least for me personally. When I sign into my account, all of my information instantly travels with me no matter where I am. That feeling of that, I don't get anywhere else. I get on Nintendo, it's a hassle. I got to do ABC thing. I just had to transfer an island for Animal Crossing from one Switch to another
console,
Switch
you gotta
because Nintendo said it's brilliant game design to have one Switch per console. No matter who plays the game, signs into what account, they're all on one island. And guess what? If you're not the main person that started that island, you don't even have all the access to the island. You can't even do everything. So it's like, bro. So what are we really talking about? In PlayStation, they are starting to get there. But somebody's already deleted that and is kind of trying to. It's like Moses with the sheep, man. He's trying to lead us, man. They're trying to show us the way, right? It seems like, to me at least, that their hands are on the pulse, and that's what's interesting to me the most is how do they play this field? Because again, I want to make the point. One side is saying that the traditional way of doing things isn't working, while the other side is continuously saying, "Hey, we're investing more." Game Pass, we're getting more Game Pass content this year. It's preaching nothing but positive things. So what is the equivalent value there? That's my question to everybody.
So, Ryan, let me ask you something because you made the point that nobody is buying games. Do you mean it on specifically for Xbox guys, or
no? I mean for just across the board on every platform. Okay.
So Satnus asked a question. I asked that because Satnus made a good point in the chat. He says there's no reason to port games if nobody is buying anything.
But that's the other thing. But if I give you a platform that intrinsically a lot of people are going to be attached to, because if I make Game Pass so available to you that every PC player, as soon as I boot Windows up, boom, it's right there. It's just a button that I click and it's in front of you. I can get you into the ecosystem. So at that point, if I can get you into the ecosystem in other ways and you find so much value that, man, now that I'm playing this game, wow, I didn't even know about this game. Oh, it's not in Game Pass. Oh, that's right. That's all right. I've had so much value in Game Pass. Maybe I got enough money to spend on that game now. At least that's what it's been for me in my example. From others in my example, that's what I've seen on when I scout the streets of Reddit, Twitter, YouTube, whatever the case. Because I try to be as active as possible. But when I mean by people not buying games, again, outside of Nintendo, because they have the highest attach rate and they also don't drop the price of their games.
True.
No, they do not.
But outside of that, and again, that's just a completely different. Is unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you are, how you think about it, Nintendo has done exactly what Microsoft is trying to do now, but they did it years in advance. They put themselves in their own box and said, nope, this is how we do things, which is fine. Because PlayStation and Xbox were always going to be compared to each other because they were always making similar games to each other, right? They were the two competitors with one another. And those two platforms were proving that they weren't growing the console market. The only person that could possibly do that was Nintendo, but not everybody's a handheld gamer. Not everybody wants to play their games at 480, 720p on their 4K TV. We are in 2024, right?
True.
Which is why everybody wants a new Switch. So it's like things have to progress. Things have to move forward. And if the two main players that everybody talks about and knows that, hey, there is nobody else here, are saying that, hey, this thing that we've been doing for X amount of years in gaming isn't really sustainable, and Xbox comes out and shows a different way and shows that it might be sustainable, at least a little bit more than what the other side is showing, who is, by the way, seemingly doing the exact same things. Why is Foam Stars going into PlayStation Plus?
I got a few reasons why I believe that's the
Oh,
case.
oh.
I mean, that's not surprising. That's going to not at all.
That game
That
has
game would not have
written
sold.
all over it.
No,
In
yeah.
my opinion.
no,
So they like, hey,
why
we got to
is-
subsidize this. Put this inside there, and maybe people play it.
That's a brand new game. I thought Square Enix and PlayStation had such a good partnership that people were buying games, right? Oh, or maybe they looked at the Final Fantasy numbers and said, "Oh,
if
man,
Final Fantasy 16 didn't do gangbuster numbers, what is Foam Stars?
Maybe they look at the
It's about to go.
what was the other one?
Cardboard.
They look at all the Square Enix looks at all their entire list of games and said, "Oh man, hey PlayStation, what kind of bag would you cut to get this in your service?" I thought PlayStation doesn't do that. I thought that's why people love PlayStation, because they do things differently. That's what I have yet to see, but that's what I have seen as a fan of Xbox. And so now it's like, where is that equivalent exchange as far as competition goes? So that's kind of how I'm looking at it in totality as far as branding goes and everything. Again, nobody's going away anytime soon. People trying to make Xbox seem like they're going to sell themselves out within the next few years and they're no longer going to exist and the console's going to go. Guys, they support the PC market. They already know how this goes. It's not the phone market, and I don't think the console market will ever be that, where year over year you're getting a brand new console. But even if we cut down the generation to half the time, 4 to 5 years, maybe you get a new console, you get a new piece of hardware. Maybe they make it up. They'll never make it upgradable because that's not the point of consoles. Outside of like hard drives and stuff like that, they should continue to do what they've done. That's pretty awesome. But outside of that, yeah, that's my thoughts on it. So,
You know,
No, it's great points. Let's see. Someone had put chat
Final
that
Fantasy.
the Hellblade 2 date leaked ecstasies.
oh wow,
Apparently
today?
Yeah. I'm trying to find it. Again, it just, you're doing. I have 3 screens open, and whoever put that in the chat, re-put it in the chat if you don't mind, because I'm at ecstasies right now. And it says, according to our sources, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 would already have a release date on Xbox and PC consoles. The mentioned date will probably be made official at the Xbox Developer Direct this Thursday. It doesn't have the date here, but someone had put it in the chat. I missed it.
Oh, apparently somebody just said that the Final Fantasy 14 beta just dropped.
That's what I saw. Yeah.
Oh shit! Really? Well, that's
Now he said he's not lying, but we didn't verify it.
I got to check that out. He said
Hold
they
on
just
a
put out
sec.
a blog about that. That's good. That's big news, man.
Idle Sloth is probably listening, as he does. Idle, if you are out there, brother, DM me and confirm whether or not
I'm gonna treat
Final
Idol
Fantasy
like
14.
Young Metro. If Young Idol don't say it, I don't trust it.
Yeah, Idle's the guy. Hazardor Gaming's another one. Nico's another one. When they talk, I stop and I listen. I'm looking at my DMs and I don't see it as of yet, but that doesn't mean it's not true. You know what? We'll come back to this in a hot second. I'm going to keep looking. But let's get your take on this. The brand identity. I think that Xbox is on the cusp of something incredibly special.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. Like, I mean, again, I'm not suggesting that 2021 wasn't a banger of a year. They won Publisher of the Year for a reason. There was a lot of great games there. Okay, they took a bit of a dump on the 22 in 22. There were some smaller games, obviously Pentiment being one of those games. There were a few others, but nothing like lit the world on fire. I hear you. 2023, now again, you take Redfall, put it off to the side. It didn't deliver. I get it, folks. I totally get it. But my God, they knocked it out of the park for anyone and everyone that's an Xbox fan, because there was something there for you. 2024 is shaping up to be probably, and again, this is all speculation just based on what we have in front of us. If you get in the same year a Hellblade, an Avowed, an Indiana Jones, and an Aura, and then on the back end of that, you add a South of Midnight, you add a Clockwork Revolution, a Towerborne, a Stalker 2 at the end of the year. You have quite a few big ones from third party, second party, and indie. This might be the best year in Xbox history for brand. I kind of think that if you start at this stage where you're just building the momentum and you go and you say, okay, we're going to put a couple of games here on other platforms, I get more players. I get all of that. But I think ultimately it does some irreparable damage to the brand of Xbox. Do you agree?
This is my thing. Absolutely, I agree. I think it does damage. Respect to Steele's thinking on it. I'm not fully disagreeing with everything you say, but I think I'm much in line with Hargeet here, and I'm sure most of the chat. I think it does irreparable damage for sure to the brand, and I'll tell you why. Because exclusivity matters in the sense of tying you to that ecosystem. If I know I can get it everywhere else, why would I have to go to you? If I can play it on PlayStation, I'll just get a PlayStation. I don't need an Xbox. Now that people will argue that, well, that's the goal. They want you to get Game Pass, but there's no give there. There's no give and take, because all we're doing is putting those games on that platform. Unless it has Game Pass on that platform, it defeats the purpose entirely for Microsoft to have done what they do. And I'll double that down. I said this before. I say that because, to Steele's point, people are not buying these games, right? Even more so, we see what's happening with Spider-Man and how they have to bundle it. We see what happened with Horizon. They have to bundle that to get it to that point, right? Our Hoof brothers are not going to support these Xbox games. I'm just going to tell you the truth. You're going to have some that buy it. Most won't. They just won't. Not until they go on sale or whatever. They can say all that they want to and throw dirt on us about us being, cheap buyer, whatever they want. How will they do it? Welfare buyers and Game Pass, all that nonsense they can throw out their mouth left and right. They don't buy games, to your point, Steele. So what are they going to do if it's some, redheaded stepchild Xbox game coming to their platform? They're not going to support it. Now, Nintendo might do it. I won't say that they won't, because they get a lot of third-party shovelware, but nobody wants to play anyway. So getting quality titles over there, maybe they will. I think, though, the point has to be is that Phil has to stick true to his word, and because abandoning what he said and saying that Game Pass titles, games will be available wherever Game Pass is, if he abandons that, we now lose trust in what he told us. We now have no reason to believe anything going forward. And that's going to what Hargeet was talking about earlier when he talked about how it's worrisome, or at least annoying, to constantly have to worry, well, will this Xbox game go be here, or will it go over there? If I'm a consumer and I'm a multi-console buyer, which I am, which you all are, and still, I know you're mostly on PC, but if most of us are buying an Xbox or a PlayStation or a Nintendo, one of those are going to have to give at a point. If I know that, and I know most people are going to say, well, you're tied to the ecosystem and you're not going to want to abandon that, et cetera, et cetera. Sure, I probably won't. That doesn't speak for everybody, though. And if I know I can get my games on PlayStation, my Xbox games rather, or Xbox IP on PlayStation, as well as those PlayStation games, if I'm looking to try to save some money as far as spending it on an Xbox or whatever, I might just say I'll just buy a PlayStation. I don't know how that serves Microsoft in the end, because now you're wondering if those guys on PlayStation are really going to support that game, and I just don't believe they will. I mean, it's an abundance of games that'll be coming their way, but unless Microsoft goes full third party, I don't know how that benefits them. And I guess I just don't see it. Game Pass is the future for sure. So to me, Game Pass has to be a part of that equation for that equivalent exchange. You see what I mean? Still, it has to be a case where Game Pass lands on those platforms for those games and for a curated Game Pass, if you will, because I think it would be pretty blasphemous to see Halo load up on the PlayStation. I'm just going to be honest with you. I think there's some things you can't. There's some genies you can't bottle back up. You know?
Yeah,
what
I agree.
And that's one of them, because that's a tent pole. Like, people talk about all these major releases. There's a difference.
Yeah, you know who? Shout out to
release, and
he calls those titles the sacred cows.
Exactly.
That's his wording. We talk almost every day, and he's like, yeah, actually, it's Asante and Everborn Saga. Let me correct that, because we talk, the three of us, almost every day. And in the last conversation we had, Everborn actually said that. He goes, there are certain titles that are looked upon as, quote unquote, sacred cows that cannot, for a multitude of reasons, be released on another platform. PC already gets it, which is great. PC is the biggest outside of mobile. When you consider the four platforms, Umbra, PC and Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox, PC trumps all three. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
So they're already putting it on a platform that has millions upon millions stacked on top of each other of players, where they will find an audience. This is why I do not really agree with putting games on like a PlayStation.
That's
like,
a great
for instance,
point,
Hi-Fi
actually.
Rush is
That's
a great.
You actually made a great point right there.
Please go.
That's to say, I mean, you got it on PC. You have no reason to bring it to these other platforms. Most millions upon millions, like you said, are playing it on PC. If they don't have an Xbox, you don't really have an excuse not to play that. I mean, Xbox is everywhere now. You got it on mobile and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's hard to escape it. So I don't see why it needs to be on PlayStation or Nintendo for it to do well.
Because if I make it undeniable, then what?
If I make it so now,
I mean, to some for sure. But if I make it so undeniable to a point to where, what I'm like, even if they did, because again, exclusives do matter. They part of your brand identity. Even if we'll just stick with Halo, because that's gonna be the most pertinent one.
Right.
Even if Halo did ever go to PlayStation, and I agree with y'all, I think that would be that would be dumb as hell if that ever happened. But even if it did, if I charged all the PlayStation consumers to pay $70 to access Halo, unless it's the free-to-play multiplayer, as an example. But if I was going to the complete package, because Halo, the campaign, you got to pay for if you're not subscribed to Game Pass, who is going to get the most kickback out of that? I'm going to get at least 70-30 from it, or more, maybe even 80-20, because it's my game. Me just putting it on your platform, the only thing I'm doing is making it accessible to more people. It doesn't kill my brand, though, because now what I've done is I put a multiplayer game on your platform that is traditionally mine, that people recognize, will continue to recognize. Microsoft is the first thing that pops up on there. And guess what? Now those people are going to intrinsically attach themselves that way. At least, again, maybe it's just me. And I am a thorough Xbox fan. Maybe it's just me, but because of how I've grown to look at things, and maybe because you're
seeing the market,
focused,
the future of the market. I think this is really the crux of the conversation. You're looking down the road. There's no doubt about that.
The other thing too, though, Boom, is that because what I've come to find out, because I am more multiplayer focused, that I've never truly had an allegiance to one particular, I got this platform because it has these games per se, right? So maybe that's why I have a little bit more of that opening. Well, I open the door just a little bit more, but I can also hear the conversation of, okay, you say Halo needs to stay on these platforms. Phil has said, hey, as long as it has Game Pass, you can play the game through there. If I make it so undeniable for you, again, Game Pass is damn near playable everywhere. If PlayStation ever puts a web browser on their console, which at some point you're going to have to do something, because these consoles, for better or for worse, have been turned into entertainment devices. They don't just play games anymore. They've solidified that in the PlayStation 3. Matter of fact, Sony did it even in the PlayStation 2 era. It's not just a game console. Oh, it plays movies. It does this. It does that. You have to give me additional things as a consumer so I can see additional value in your box just outside of your games. Because
right,
if we're
but still, that's
Go
my
ahead.
point. What value will Nintendo or PlayStation gamers get if they can get those games over there without having to subscribe to the service or buy an Xbox? There's no value there. And
Well,
on,
that's what
on
I'm
top
saying
of
to your
that, just to
point.
add, if it's multiplayer, I would agree. Like a Sea of Thieves, I can see that. That doesn't hurt us because that's a multiplayer thing. If it's a Call of Duty, as we all know, that doesn't hurt us. But single player, unique single player IP, that absolutely should not happen.
But
Those
again,
games should not be coming over there to those platforms.
I think the point is being missed, though, that the only way that they would come is if they come part of a subscription, or unless PlayStation or these other platforms that, again, and I see people saying the same thing in chat. Oh, well, you're just essentially saying you could buy one platform and that's it. Yeah, sure, that may be essentially what I am hinting at. But overall, in the scope of it, if this is Xbox's direction, this is going to be the reality of it. And these other publishers, if it ever came to that platform for the exact reasons that y'all are mentioning, then what did Sony or Nintendo give to get that? And if the answer is nothing, and it continues to be nothing, then we have bigger questions. We have a bigger issue at hand at that point. I'm just only coming from the
that's where I'm with you.
perspective
That's
of,
where I agree with you.
Yeah,
it has to be some type of give it. You got to be an equivalent exchange. That's why I called you full steel alchemist, because it's got to be an equivalent exchange. You know, I'm start calling you Edward Elric.
It's
got to be. It can't just be here. You go. Here's my game for you. You know, and barely any sales. Like I just don't think it's gonna. They're gonna do anything sales wise that's going to say this is why we needed to do. I just don't see it happening. I don't think those games will sell gangbusters or anywhere near it. To
you know what? Can I throw something at you guys here? I was thinking about this on the back end of it. Let me flip the coin here. Chat, please drop your bars here. Now we're Xbox fans here, right? And we're like, you know, we want to see Xbox go back to the days of the Xbox 360 where the conversation was their games, right? That's why you invested in Xbox, because they had all these amazing exclusives, Mass Effect, Gears of War, Halo. You know, you can go down the list. BioShock at one point was exclusive, right? I mean, and that's a legendary IP. But what if we just kind of flip the coin on its side for a second and say, what if the PlayStation players are like, how dare you allow Xbox to put their shit on our platform? Do you think you get any pushback from the PlayStation players? Because it doesn't seem like that. A lot of the bigger voices, the more toxic voices, no names mentioned here, are out there rah-rahing this and quoting Phil Spencer from 2014 saying, more players, more games. You see Xbox talked about it 10 years ago. That's not what he meant. You took him out of context, sure, but get a new tweet. Go. Why don't you pull the story from Jez Corden where he says they're not going third party? He literally just said that. But would there be pushback from the PlayStation fans?
No, because they want the games.
But
they 1000% want the games. And the thing that I found out over the years, especially being more, since I came in more so in the PC side of things, main thing that I found out is that console gamers want PC games and PC gamers want console games. That is that will, I don't care what anybody tells you, that is a fact. Why do you think people get so excited when certain games do come to PC from console? Because those are things that we have asked for. We don't need it, but they are nice to have, and they do play better when they come to the PC ecosystem. Windows has always been intrinsically part of that, and I think the biggest thing too that adds on to that is just like, they're just going to buy less games than what they're buying now. Like, they're already so, there is this mentality that games have to be a certain way. And even with that mentality, you are seeing the wide cracks that are in that logic of thinking. Oh, it needs to be graphically impressive. It needs to be a heavily narrative game. It needs to be the best experience that I've ever played in the world. And for everything that they give those games, is that what we get in Xbox all the time? No, and there's reasons for that, because every game doesn't need to be that. That doesn't define quality to me. But that's why I always go back to also, no matter where these games go, and again, I do want Xbox to stay true to their words and what Phil has even stated about the whole Game Pass games only being accessible wherever you can find Game Pass
Yes.
at. Because again, you have to give people, at least of the old guard, a reason to continuously believe in what you're selling, especially versus your competition. And yeah, I just think there's definitely going to be a lack of there's going to be a lack of, I don't want to say respect there for the games that would come to the platform if they did come to PlayStation. I just don't think they'll people would hype it up, maybe talk about it, and we just go right back to that third party conversation. Be like, oh, see what I told you? Xbox third party. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're onto something, and again, I want to just add to that conversation because, folks, listen, I'm not trying. I don't get in the middle of the console war shit. Like I sometimes I'll poke fun and I'll retweet something from like the Black Viking or my good friend J Rock, right? Like those guys, I love those guys, and they put some stuff out there. It's funny, so you retweet it, you favorite it. It's funny to watch. They're not hurting anybody. But the truth of the matter is, and this isn't a dig into PlayStation fans, folks. It is a sad reality that for all the shit that they talk about exclusives, they don't buy their own games. It is crazy. I probably have more PlayStation stuff than some of these diehard knuckleheads. I got I buy almost every collector's edition. I got loads of statues in this shelf right here.
I wouldn't doubt it. The hell, there was some hijinks going on where a brother didn't even have a PlayStation 5 and was capping for it.
See,
so
now
that's my problem. We have to stop that. That is such weird energy. Having people come to the community. That's the only thing that I have a problem with.
That's the weird energy.
It's just weird energy. Like, weird. Why are we lying about video? If you're willing to lie about anything video game related, what else are you really willing to lie about?
Yeah, something's wrong. If you lie about that, you'll lie about.
At least that's how I think about it.
No, you're right. Because I mean, if you'll lie about something as simple as that, then you'll lie about anything.
Yeah, it is. I love it. I don't think you can end the conversation better than weird energy, because that's just okay. So look, real quick, folks, we do got some breaking news. As confirmed by Xbox Wire, thanks to Pong Soul consistently in the DMs dropping the information. Final Fantasy XIV Online Open Beta now available on Xbox Series X and S, ladies and gentlemen. And according to, of course, Xbox Wire, this was written by Luke Kamari, who is the PR director for Square Enix. He published this on Xbox Wire. It says, summary: critically acclaimed Morporg, Final Fantasy XIV Online has officially launched into its beta on Xbox Series X and S, boasting 4K support on Xbox Series X and faster loading times on both consoles. All progress will carry over to the full launch. Our starter guide series offers tips and tricks to make your early steps into the realm of Orzea even better. And yep, it's available like literally right now. I know Steele probably ran over to his console to start downloading because he loves Final Fantasy.
Oh yeah,
time to pull out the Buster Sword.
Yeah, the Buster Sword indeed. So look.
Oh, by the way,
yes,
the rumor of Senua Saga Hellblade 2 releasing May 21st is out there too.
21st, yes, that's the date I heard. Yeah, 21st. I mean, listen, May's a great time. It's right before E3 or the summer showcase, whatever the hell it's going to be called, and it's out of the way. I think May is a really good day, a really good month for that game, because I don't know if anything. Do we have anything like locked in that's around that game? I think it's going to have its own room to breathe, to be honest with you.
You know what? Let me look. I want to see actually.
Just for shits and giggles. So look, I have so every now and again, I get a lot of DMs, and I'm putting this out there into the ether. If there's something that we haven't covered that you're very passionate about, DM me. My DMs are open. I talk to everybody on a regular basis. If you have a particular question or a subject matter that isn't, that's not like pushing limits, obviously, we can have that conversation. And I bring that up because Nathan Squire had DM'd me, and he asked a very pointed, very interesting question. And I thought, you know what? Being that we're talking about branding, we're talking about Xbox Game Pass, this is a pretty good question for the community. It's a great question for the panel members here. And he asks this, Steel Rain: what impact do you think Call of Duty, which of course he's talking about Gulf War, which is releasing later this year by Treyarch, will have by dropping day and date on Xbox Game Pass, and will it bring more eyes to the catalog list of games we already have, and the potential to get people to become fans of Halo, Gears, and other first-party titles? So basically, Steele, what he's asking is that, is there going to be that migration from PlayStation to Xbox, not because it's going to look better or it's going to run better, but there is something to be said about 2024. Listen, just look at the field of view. Folks, gaming is getting more expensive, but on top of that, the world continues to raise its prices. Gas has gone up, eggs have gone up again. Your mortgages have went up.
Yeah.
So in order to be a part of the conversation, one of the first things that we know as heads of households, Steel, that the first thing that's going to go when money is tight is entertainment, right? And when, I'm not saying this is going to happen to PlayStation players only, it's happening across the world. But if you are a PlayStation casual, right, you buy 2 games a year, right? It could be Madden, it could be 2K, it's definitely going to be Call of Duty. You play some free-to-play stuff. Every now and again, you buy a Spider-Man 2 because, they're talking around the water cooler, and you're like, yeah, I got to get this game. Maybe they buy another third-party game like a Grand Theft Auto. They don't spend a lot of money. But at the end of the day, there is something to be said about $76.43 and versus $16.99. Plus, you get this plethora of other games in there, like Gears, like Hellblade 2, like Clockwork Revolution. Do you think this particular year is going to be impactful for Call of Duty dropping day and date?
If we end up getting Call of Duty go for in the Game Pass, I do think it's going to be astronomical for the service, and we're going to see a huge flux of people move over. Now, again, it is going to be determined a lot by where people's friends are playing, right? But it's not going to take long for the word to get out that, hey, you can play Call of Duty here in Game Pass. I do think now Call of Duty is a bit of an outlier because it's going to do well kind of regardless, no matter what. It could be in, it could be out. But I do think that with it coming to the Game Pass, it may even be a bigger year for Activision because the people who do, the Xbox people who are already invested, are going to see so much of a benefit that you might end up spending $60 in microtransactions on cosmetics because, man, I just saved some ducats, right? I think that'll be the main entryway. So I think the other thing too, I was speaking to those people that are still like on the previous generation consoles in comparison to us. And I think that would be a good gateway for them. Maybe they just recently got a Series S. Maybe they look into getting a Series S. We do know that the Series S has been quite a winner for Xbox, no matter how people feel about it. And Call of Duty is always going to be made sure to run the best it can on that system. So at that point, I think 1 and 1 just equals 2, where people just kind of see the inherent value and say, hey, maybe you try out Call of Duty for that one time, $15 a month. Nothing's locking you in. That's the other thing I think people forget about is like they think that Xbox is like a gym membership. It's like Planet Fitness, where you sign up for 1 month and then you try to cancel the next month. They give you the rigmarole and you find out that you got to pay $1,000 to cancel your membership. You're like, hey, well, that's not what I asked for. But yeah, you got to read the fine print. But no, you could try it for a month. There's going to be a lot of people that I think will want to try it. I mean, again, 15 versus $70, $80 is a huge inherent value for people, and I do think it's going to be a mover. If Xbox isn't at 50 million bare minimum by the end of the year, I do think that that's going to be one of the main things that pushes them over. That conversation gets started again. It's Treyarch coming back also, so there is going to be some excitement to roll in with that. I am a bit down on COD right now, although I do appreciate what they've done with moving characters forward and everything else from Modern Warfare 3. The biggest reason I'm down though is we literally paid $70 for DLC. Again, I paid it. I've had my fun with it. Story was great. Multiplayer was great. Warzone 3, I have an awesome time with. I don't regret purchases 99% of the time. So it's like I got my money's worth there. I feel like. Is next year going to also be what people wanted? Maybe more story, even better multiplayer. Feels a little bit different. Treyarch's back at the top, really getting their focus in. And getting people drove in there. Zombies, a traditional zombie mode is also going to be in there. There's going to be so many things that kind of stack on top of each other that can interest somebody who either isn't invested yet or maybe has questions, maybe just got a Series S, or maybe their friends tell them that, hey, you know that you can get Call of Duty in Game Pass, right? You're like, huh? Why would I do that? It's the only game I play. Well, maybe it doesn't have to be the only game that you play. And I think that would be a perfect time to probably start that. If it hasn't started yet for a lot of people, I think that will start that my process once that happens.
I love the theory, and I think you're onto something. Infinite Umbra. Let's get your hot take on this, because Call of Duty. I want to paint this picture for you. Call of Duty could be that, and again, I hate to use the terminology because it's just dumb, but the drug to get you in, right? Like, for instance, it's such a powerful brand, and it has such recognition. Call of Duty is and still is one of the most played online games. Obviously, Microsoft owning it's a big deal for them. When the mobile version of not World of War, Warzone is released in the spring, it's going to be a big deal, and that's going to be on mobile. Like, these kids, they play Call of Duty. Call of Duty's played more on mobile than anywhere else, which is just I had to look that up. That's a fact, folks. That to me is crazy. I'd have been like, yeah, no, PC for sure. No, it's mobile. Mobile is ringing the dinner bell.
Kind of insane, isn't it?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And it's this new generation. They can play on phones. I can't. Right? That's not my bag.
These damn generations here.
Yeah. So the question simply is, do you think something like Call of Duty Warzone dropping into Game Pass day and date versus $76.43 on PlayStation is going to be significant enough to move people over? But maybe they stay, because again, Game Pass is this 500-pound gorilla in the room that has all of these games. They market it still as 100 games. We know they've had over 500 at some point. And this year alone, Umbra is going to just levy some really powerful titles on top of Call of Duty. Do you see a migration?
I think for those who are like educated buyers, definitely.
Okay.
The Steel's point.
What about the casuals?
A lot of the casuals, I don't know. That's the troublesome bunch, because they're not educated on a lot of this. They're just like, oh well, all I know is PlayStation, and somebody on TikTok said PlayStation was better. So I don't know. I feel like they'll just be influenced and just
so true.
I don't know, honestly. I think though. Oh, by the way, in Warzone is free to play, so
yes.
But oh, by the way, I looked up too. May is open. There's no game scheduled for May as far as like major releases.
That's great.
So Hellblade would fit right in there perfectly. But yeah, my thinking is, for those who are more educated buyers, absolutely they'll migrate. But I think it would have been even much more of a migration if, especially for the casuals, if Call of Duty was exclusive. That goes back to the exclusive argument. If Call of Duty was exclusive to Xbox, I think a lot of PlayStation guys would turn coat, and the casuals at least, and be on Xbox. So that's part of the issue. It going into Game Pass, though, it still will bring some people over who are more knowledgeable and will want to save money at the end of the day by just subscribing, because they're going to get that annually anyway. Why not just
Right.
have a subscription that you subscribe to for however many months that you're going to play it, and then resubscribe the next year when the next one comes out. You know what I mean? And that's the bigger thing. But part of the issue too is something that Phil brought up when he was on Kind of Funny, which is the ecosystem thing. And and you being used to what you've been playing on. A lot of these guys have been raised playing PlayStation or thinking it's the de facto console. So it's going to take a lot to uproot them. That's the bigger thing. And it's the same for us. It's why it'll be hard, even if Xbox or Microsoft rather did some things I didn't prefer, that I wouldn't just be like, because I even made a point about that on I think Xbox Infinite, and I was like, or Infinite now. It's just the Infinite podcast. Sorry, y'all. Sorry, Risk It. Named after me, of course. But I
was gonna say I would still be asking for some sort of legal situation going on.
Yeah, I need to get some type of ducats about that. I do.
Brisket.
I need to look into that. I'm too forgiving. But because I think, because I made a point like, well, they do this, I'll be like this, and they were like, are you really going to like get rid of your Xbox? And no, I'm not. I'm talking a big game, but all of us who are really down for this console, the hardcore, we're not moving. And I think it's the same for our Hoove brothers. I think that they will stick to that platform regardless. The bigger point would be to try to get Game Pass on the console. That's the bigger point. If they can get Game Pass on there, Call of Duty would be one of those curated games that can come to it. That way, Microsoft double dips and wins.
Well,
they'll win regardless.
Sony would have to pay through the nose, because they actually offered it. If you remember in the court documents, they offered them, hey, you can have Call of Duty in your service. They're like, no.
Yeah, they don't want that.
It's too much money.
They have to pay them for that, exactly. But Microsoft, to be fair, it's a win-win for them regardless, because the game is going to sell well. That's one of the games that will sell well on PlayStation, right? Because of the casuals are going to flock to that as they do. So it's tough to really say. But I think those who are ingrained, they're not moving. The casuals, possibly, if Microsoft can offer enough games, which they will, that can move them into people subscribing into the service and just getting an Xbox. Call of Duty is one of the things that can do that. I think they need maybe a few other killer apps that people are just stuck to those. Like, for instance, if they had Call of Duty and 2K was all the way in Game Pass all the time, I think people will be like, okay, it's time for an Xbox. I think even the diehards on PlayStation will probably shift. You know what I mean? That's what it is. But once they start releasing these, AAA games they have and these quality exclusives they have, I think it will start pulling people through. The problem is I don't know how to dictate. Oh, excuse me. I don't know how to speculate when it comes to the casuals, because I don't know. Like, they're stuck on these one or two games, and that's really it. You know what I mean? They don't really.
Yeah, you know what changes that though, Umbra? Zeitgeist conversation titles. And Xbox is going to potentially have that. Like Hellblade could be that Zeitgeist title. You obviously, if Call of Duty winds up hitting like we expected to hit Treyarch, back to being who Treyarch is, and it winds up, it's going to be marketed only by Xbox, and that this year that picture of Call of Duty is going to be on every box and every panel and every TV screen from here to every corner of the planet. So people are going to, I think what we need to see happen is people to once again equate Call of Duty with Xbox.
Definitely that. Somebody may mention a FIFA, which is not FIFA anymore now. What is it? What do they call it? Football, man? I don't know what they call it.
I don't even know what the hell it is called.
But
I'm always going to call it FIFA.
Yeah, but the former FIFA game. If they can get something like that, 2K, these are the games that people are flocking to continuously, annually. It's Call of Duty. It's FIFA. It is 2K. Like Genshin Impact, of course, stuff like that. If they can get those games into the service and stuff like that, that would draw people in much more quicker, I think, than anything else to the service.
I agree.
To the platform. But I don't know. Again, I don't know what the casuals. It's hard to really say, and it's kind of hard to really nail them down and call them just casuals, because they're playing crazy hours into this 1 or 2 games too. So hardcore casuals. How about that?
Yeah, no, it's true. They have their few games they go back to. It's a 2K. It's the
Oh,
you
it's
know,
called FC now. FC
yeah.
2024. Okay, thanks. K Dot. But yeah, that K the Goat rather. I called this man K Dot like he was Kendrick Lamar. I'm sorry. Anyway, but yeah, that's the biggest thing. I think it's just really hard to predict. I mean, even when we had the discussion about exclusives a minute ago, it's hard to say. Like I disagree with the notion of bringing those games there, but I think that's my inner fanboy speaking, right? I don't know
Right.
how
Well,
it
we're
would
all
pan out.
fanboys one way or another. That's,
Yeah,
that's life.
and I say that just to say I don't know how it would pan out business wise for them to bring those games to Nintendo or Sony. I don't think that PlayStation gamers or Nintendo gamers would buy them in any real major capacity to make it worth bringing it over there. But maybe I'm wrong. You know,
Yeah.
what we're just doing here is fun speculation. Shout out, Math. So that's my thinking on it. I just don't know, honestly, but I feel like there will be some who absolutely will adapt and move over, because you have this into a package of Game Pass. You have this ecosystem of other games you can try out and play, especially for those who are older and maybe have families. So I can see that definitely working out in Xbox favor after the long run. They just got to continuously push out these great games. I think that's the bigger thing too.
Yeah, once the cadence starts, and the locomotion of the train starts to go, nothing's going to stop them. Again, look, at the end of the day, folks. Shout out to Nathaniel Squire, who actually DM'd me with this, and like I said, an open call to if you have a topic that you would like to have us cover, DM me, as long as it's a respectful topic that we're not calling people ponies or anything like that. That's perfectly fine. Hey, Harky, welcome back, brother. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey,
Real quick, we have a few minutes before we get everyone on out here. I read these last super chats. Quick question for you. Umbra answered it, and Steele. We had a member of the channel reach out to me and DM me. He says, "What impact do you think Call of Duty, and of course he's talking about Gulf War, will have dropping day and date into Xbox Game Pass, and will it bring more eyes to the catalog of games like Gears, Forza, and Halo for new players?"
I don't know that it's actually going to have as much impact on Game Pass as it's going to have on the platform.
Okay.
Where it's marketed is where people are going to go, and the more you market it with Xbox, the more people are going to flock to Xbox. And I think that's going to be the big deal, right? Right now, every time Call of Duty is marketed, all the special content, it's all been PlayStation for the last few years, right? When it was marketed by Xbox, that's where people played COD. It was on Xbox. And that is going to return back to Xbox, right? They're going to market this game. The next console this year, the game was marketed with a new console from PlayStation with a bundle with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. That will, from now on, always be Xbox, right? So that will be the big deal. That's the mindset will be, this is now an Xbox thing. That's where I want to be to play COD, right? For those who are deciding the next generation, when they're trying to upgrade. I think that's where you're going to see the difference. It's that part of it's going to change. Once they're on Xbox, it may make an impact, right? That, hey, what is this Game Pass thing, right? And then they start seeing, oh, hey, wait, if I just pay this, I get caught in all these other games just for the couple of months I want to play. Well, that's kind of cool. I don't have to pay $70. Cool. I just pay $17 and I get everything. Well, that's kind of cool. Now it depends on how often you play, right? If you're a Call of Duty player all year long, $70 might be a better deal for you. Plus, you still have to pay, by the way, for Game Pass Core, right? You still have to pay for the online, right? Or say, it's not much of a delta. I could just pay the whole thing and I kind of get everything. Maybe that's better, and that way I have all of the old CODs that I bought on PlayStation before. I now have all of them. I've got the new ones. I've got the Halos. I've got the Gears. I've got the whatever, the FIFAs and the Maddens, because EA is part of it. Why not, right? So, but I think that the key difference is the marketing. I think that's the thing that's going to make the difference. It's going to start changing that mindset of, Call of Duty's Xbox. Okay, cool. That's what I'm going to associate it with, right? Not everybody, but there will be enough people that's going to happen, right? We were hearing the marketing of Hogwarts that people thought that was a PlayStation game. It's It's like
Indeed,
it's
they
everywhere.
thought it was an exclusive. Yep.
It's literally everywhere. It's on Switch. It's literally everywhere. But everybody thought it's a PlayStation game, right? Like that's the difference, is right when you see that marketing, when you see the advertising, the posters, the banners everywhere, Call of Duty, and it's all Xbox. It starts going in your head. Oh, it's Xbox. I need to be on Xbox, right? That's what's going to happen. I think that's the thing that's going to change. I think it might drive people into Game Pass because they come over for Call of Duty. That's the thing that I think is going to happen. I don't think they're going to do it because of Call, go to Game Pass because of Call of Duty. I think they're going to come to Xbox because of Call of Duty. that'll drive market.
No, it makes sense. And again, once the marketing is in full swing for Xbox being the place for Call of Duty, some people will be like, "Oh, they got that as an exclusive now." Because I think it can work that way. And if they go really ham on marketing like they did during the 360 days, people will come over, especially when you're talking about $16.99 versus $76.43. Like there is something to be said about that. And plus, what you're getting for your $17 is you're getting the online. You are getting all of these games in this service for you. And again, it maybe not every game is going to be for you. Maybe you're going to see Hellblade and goes, yeah, that's just not for me. It's a walk-in simulator. But maybe Clockwork Revolution reminds you of BioShock. And holy shit, this is great. This is in the service. And then they keep looking, and maybe they were Xbox 360 players that left for PlayStation 4 because of the terrible marketing that went on. And like, oh man, I remember Gears of War. Oh, they remastered the original 3. Oh my God, so it could be a domino effect. But listen, folks, we're at the 2-hour mark. We had almost 800 people here. Let me get to these last super chats and we'll get everyone out of here. G-Mania1 drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Boom, thanks for suggesting Split Second. Picked up a physical copy for my 360 yesterday. It's a blast. Yeah, it's phenomenal. I'm actually I played it all weekend. It was just a lot of fun. Split Second is really, really good. And it looks phenomenal for a game that's 14 years old. It's crazy." Michael Mooney drops a very generous £5 super chat and says, "What if Microsoft made Xbox exclusives available on other platforms, but only playable on their subscription service, not in the store?" I mean, that's a conversation I think would be different. I think that if PlayStation was open to Game Pass, then it would be I think it'd be a different conversation. But they're not going to.
They're not interested, and Phil said that's not happening.
Yeah, so I mean, it would be. I think it would be a different conversation that we're having rather than exclusive A going on to PlayStation versus an entire service with a curated list of games going on to the service. I think there might be a different conversation, Michael. But thank you so much for the question and, of course, the generosity. Highlander 001 shows more generosity by dropping an outstanding $5 super chat and says, "What did I say a couple of weeks ago? Going forward, Phil Spencer has to be clear in where the games will be if they go to PlayStation 5. It does hurt Xbox." Dr. J and Mr. H88 drops a very generous $5 super chat. This is great show as always, Boom. Hit the like button. I'm probably the only one hoping that Replaced is a shadow drop on Thursday. Listen, I'm right there with you. Replaced looks dope. I cannot wait for it. There's another side-scrolling cyberpunk game that was supposed to. The Last Night. We haven't heard anything about that. That game looked dope.
Wasn't that tied to that whole Gamergate thing, though?
Yeah, it was. It's just
I don't know what up with that one.
It was years ago that one that getting onto an E3 Xbox stage, and there's been nothing. That looked really, really good. But listen,
Replaced, by the way, I think they already announced that was delayed until later, didn't they? This year?
Later this year. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I mean, that game's been delayed quite a bit as well, but the pandemic is still the pandemic, and if it's a small team, so I don't know if maybe money was the situation. But listen, let's start with you, Umbra. Where could people reach out to you on social media, and more importantly, subscribe to The Fix with Danny each and every Thursday evening? Sell your brand, brother.
Yeah, man. Thank you, guys. Always a great conversation with you guys. Still the excellent addition to the show, of course. Ooh. Number 2 after me, though. I had to make sure, establish. No, I'm just joking. Listen, you are number 1 so long as you can show me how to make a cool, gigantic PFP thing that you got going on Yeah, I need some
yeah.
help with this. You think
DMs is always open. DMs is always open, man, and the party is always available.
I'm about to pester you. You just best believe it. But no, man. Thank you too, of course, Hargeet, for joining us, brother. You've been on a tear this past week, by the way. You've been on what, like 5-6 shows?
Everywhere.
Quite a bit. Yeah, I don't know how many. it's been quite a bit.
Yeah, because you just debuted with Fonz. I'll let you do that, but yeah, thank you for joining us, and Boom, of course, for you hosting of doing your thing with the blueprint, as I call you, for all these other shows that's copying. With the whole I want to say copy to be mean, but that's putting out multiple shows throughout the week. You're definitely the blueprint for that. I tell everybody that, but yeah, and thank you, chat family. Thank you all. I put it in the chat already. Subscribe and come by Thursdays at 8:00 at 8:00 p.m. EST, 7:00, of course, Chicago. Or catch us later on replay. If you can come through and leave a comment or something like that, it'll help us with the algorithm and things like that. The link is there right under that comment. So if you guys have not subscribed yet to the Fix in my channel, please do come by. We're going to have a really good show this week. Of course, we have Deli, who is a former Ubisoft, Microsoft employee,
nice,
coming through, as well as Shane Bailey, who was also not former. He's actually with Ubisoft still, I believe. Shane. So. Nice. 2 developers, myself, Danny, and maybe we can get another guest. I'm not sure, but there might be enough. I think we'll be discussing, of course, the developer direct. What better thing than to have devs talking with us on after developer direct, right? And so come by, check us out Thursdays, 8:00 Eastern. You, of course, can also find me on the Infinite podcast. I almost said the old name, but the Infinite podcast. We want to be much more wide-reaching, I guess, with the name. That's 8:00 Eastern, 7:00 Eastern on Fridays now, for the time change for those guys. Myself, Risky for the Biscuit, that blue number who you all may have seen in the chat earlier, and Jedi Knight Peter. And that's really it. Of course, on social media, you can find me Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite. You'll find me either way on Twitter X. And that's it. Thank you guys for being here with us.
Thank you so much. And Steel Rain, let's sell your brand, brother, because this Saturday is going to be a big show. Obviously, you and Pong Soul, Living Split Screen, 10 a.m. Eastern time. And obviously, you guys are going to be responding to what happens Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern with the Developer Direct. Talk about it, brother. It's where people can help you get your lofty goal of 3,000 subscribers by the end of 2024. And more importantly, follow you on social media.
Thanks. Well, Boom, I want to say first off, I appreciate you for having me here. Everybody, you can follow me. Steel Rain, the T is a 7 everywhere. Google's probably the easiest place to just type that information in. Everything will come up. I do frequent the streets of the Xbox ecosystem. Just because it works so well in tandem between the actual console itself and PC, and Twitter, otherwise known as X. Other than that, like Boom mentioned, every Saturday morning, I am one of the hosts for a non-console-centric platform known as Living Split Screen, talking about everything going on within the gaming industry from that RTS approach that I constantly try to come from, and also that home of the ECP, educated consumer perspective, because we're not in the industry, but me and Pawn together both have definitely over 3 decades of customer service, sales, professional business experience. So we try to put everything together, hammer some things out, and overall talk about this hobby and passion that we love so much. But other than that, every Tuesday, got to start getting it more so into the closing. Every Tuesday, you can find me right here, part of Xbox Factor Podcast, right here with Mr. BoomStick XL, somebody that I consider as a pillar of community. I add that on top of what Umbra said there. It's absolutely the truth, and great conversation that we were able to have today. I got to slide out of here to go get my daughter, but I want to wish everybody in chat a magnificent and wonderful rest of your day. And one thing that I would like to leave with is know who you are, not only as a person, but know who you are as a gamer as well. And much love and stay safe.
Good stuff, brother. Good stuff. Appreciate it. Shout out to Alien Ninja in the chat. They said Replaced is the last night. They changed the name. Actually, it's not. Just FYI, Replaced is being developed by Sad Cat Studios Limited, and the last night is by the company or the developer Odd Tales. 2 separate games. They look similar for sure. But last night is a bit in the development hell. It's looks really good. And I want both of them because I like side scrolling 2.5D. Speaking of which, Hargeet, let's sell your brand, brother. Obviously, you're not on social media. Good on you. Mrs. Boomstick gives you the thumbs up for that. But you can be found on Xbox. You can, of course, be found on Discord. But you, my friend, are consistently banging the drum of Game On Daily. That is a site that is run, of course, by Asa and Gaz, Mr. Septic Sauce himself. And obviously, they do a great job with the community. They consistently have great shows each and every week. Every week, they're adding more and more spice, which is or septic sauce to the conversation. They had an amazing show this past week. Sell the brand, brother. Talk about it.
Yeah, so you can catch me. Well, first, I guess, happy belated MLK Day for those in the US and around the world that celebrate the the civil rights movements of most of the planet. But that was championed by MLK here, in the early part and middle of our last century. So happy MLK Day, and then find me on Discord at hchani and Xbox hchani, and GameOnDaily.com and YouTube.com/GameOnDaily. Check out last Saturday's episode. We had a lot of fun, a heated debate back and forth with Gaz, me, and Detective Seeds, and Asa, as usual, was just like, I'll just let them keep talking. And
oh man, that was a heated discussion. Yes, sir.
It was fun. So check that out. And then I'm on Fawn's Gaming's Games Talk Live podcast on Sundays as a co-host at 6 p.m. U.S. Eastern. Check that out. And we had fun talking about some of these same topics. We will, of course, break down everything on Sunday again when we see the developer direct. And then, of course, Wednesday, tomorrow, we'll be checking out Primetime Gaming here tomorrow for a Boom's channel. And we'll probably be going over, I'm guessing, what to expect.
Well, I'm like I said, I'm talking to some people behind the scenes and trying to get maybe some tidbits. No spoilers, obviously. I'm trying to think because obviously the big story of the day is the fact that Tom Henderson of put out an article today that there is not going to be a shadow drop, but there is going to be a fifth game. What is the fifth game? And obviously, if you remember, according to the leaks, there was that conversation of a game could be announced for a later date, not being a shadow drop. Maybe there is some truth to that. We're going to be breaking that down, and obviously we're still only 2:00 on Tuesday, and we go live on 7 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday evening. We have a lot of time to kind of fill that 2 hours, but I think the crux of the conversation is expectations, and maybe we're going to get some more reports outside of just not Tom Henderson. Maybe we get something from Tom Warren. Maybe get something from
the closer you get, right?
The closer we get, I would imagine we're going to get some loose lips, sink ships kind of a thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I'm here for it. But please continue, Hargeet.
Yeah. So just to be clear on the definition, technically a shadow drop is announce and release same date.
Yes.
So they could announce something for release, on Thursday, but it's a game we've already known about. In that case, it's not technically a shadow drop. It's just an announce of a release date, right? And so you might get a full developer direct level thing on it, and then they're just gonna, here it is, go for it. So that is a possibility for a game we already know about, right? But so it could be like Towerborne, for instance, which they haven't listed.
They actually just tweeted something just yesterday. Surprisingly enough, they're not listed to be there, but they were in there asking, polling the community, do you play couch co-op games?
Yeah.
And it's I know it's just a nugget. I mean, they're just out there doing what they do, but it's why ask that question right before the direct? I don't know. Because that would be actually a really cool game to shadow drop. There's also the rumor, of course, of Double Fine's game. Kiln.
Right.
Kiln is supposed to be there. So
right.
We'll
Which
see.
I guess technically that would also not be a full shadow drop because it has been announced before, right? We know Kiln exists, right? It's something that they were working on, and this could just be hey, we revived it, and here it is. Download today, right? So we'll have fun talking about that. But yeah, so definitely check out the go live from Saturday if you want to have a nice heated topic. The heated debate was on the whole third party thing and what that means. So check that out.
Yeah, we're gonna look forward to that. Obviously, I watched half of it. I'm gonna probably watch the other half tomorrow when I'm doing housework, because obviously that makes the housework get done. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Big shout out to nearly 800 people that were here today. Big shout out to all of the super chats and channel members that continue to join. Thanks to the generosity of many people in the chat here. We can't do these big giveaways without the support of the community, and that's why Mrs. Boom and I want to give back so much, and we are doubling down. And of course, we're going to at least match what we did this year. And obviously, in December, we gave away $1,500 in 2 hours. And you didn't even have to be a channel member to win. You didn't have to be even subscribe to the channel. We don't ask for that. We ask that you come here, you have fun, you get in the chat, you put the hashtag. If we pick you, if the picker picture, you win. That's it. And we're one of the few channels that actually do that. We don't ask you to sub. We'd prefer it, and we'd love to help us get to 15K. But, plenty of people have won that have not been subbed to the channel. So it's just luck of the draw, and it's something that Mrs. Boom and I enjoy doing. And we can't do that without the extreme generosity that has consistently been, given to us on a show, on every show basis. It's unbelievable. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to us. Hopefully, one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast.